So I'm going to be talking a bit about Franklin, which is the STAC API server that we've been working on at Azavea. I'm not going to spend too much time in the implementation. I'll just sort of cover going from not having anything at all to having a running server with data and what you can do with it. So the first thing that I'm showing here is this is a Docker Compose PS. It's showing the containers that are currently running based on the Docker Compose file that's in here. You can see that there aren't any. So we're starting empty, and we're going to bring up a database. This is based on the examples in the Franklin documentation. I copied and pasted the Docker Compose file from there, and I'm going off of that. And I can post a link to that in the chat after I give this example. So we have a database, which is great. The next thing we want to do is we want to make Franklin's, yeah, sure, go for it. We want to make sure that we have access to the tables we need. So the Franklin container that we have in that compose file also has a migrate command. So we're running that. It for some reason takes a lot longer to exit than it does to run. So I'm going to assume that it's all set and try to put some data in. The next thing we're going to do, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go out onto the internet and find a collection. So this collection, I'll show you what it looks like real fast. I made it this morning. It's pretty boring. It has, it's just an example for a Cloud Native Geospatial Day. And it has 2 items in it, item and layered item. There's not a ton going on, so the import will be pretty quick. So we're importing that as well. And similarly, because they're running in the same command structure, it takes a lot longer to exit than it does to actually do its work. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to start up Franklin. And we're just going to start up Franklin, what I'll call for now base Franklin. We're not going to give it any special options. We're just going to say serve. And shortly, we'll see a nice banner letting us know that Franklin's doing stuff. Cool, so we're running. And if we go to Franklin, we get this landing page. We're working on HTML views. Not everything has them yet, so there's a landing page, but we'll be back in pure JSON pretty quickly. Okay, so we imported a collection, which is called Cloud Native Geospatial Day collection. And it's got our links, which we can just navigate through. These weren't originally localhost 9090 links, as you could see in this collection. They're just relative links to start, but they end up properly referenced within the collection, or rather within the API server context. So we have some links from importing our data. The next thing we might want to do with this data is make sure it's all okay. So this is just our normal item, but we support an extension in, I missed a link maybe? Hold on. We support an extension here. It's the layered item. One moment. I lost a link, and so I can't actually get to this item right now. Yeah, so there should be an item in here. Yeah, this guy. So that didn't end up in the collection links, but we imported it into that collection, so we can still see it. Okay, so we support an extension called the layer extension, and one of the things that Franklin does for you that I think is unusual at this point is it accepts all JSON for items that is valid as a base stack item, and if you have extensions that it knows how to validate, it will then validate those extensions and tell you what went wrong. So here, it's letting us know in the JSON response that it attempted to validate the layer extension, and that something went wrong at a property called .layerIDs in the first entry. So let's take a look at what that is. So in our properties, here we go. We have this layer IDs and it's an empty array. So there is no first element. So in this case, we can infer from that that maybe there should be a first element. I opened an issue this morning because our implementation and the spec we wrote for ourselves are inconsistent about whether empty is allowed. But for now, empty is not allowed. And so we might want to fix that. So to do that, we need the transaction extension. So I'm going to stop this and give Franklin the with transactions argument when I start the server. And that changes the endpoints that are available. And similarly to what Jeff showed with the Arturo STAC API, when we change the endpoints that are available, we get different documentation, and I'll show that in a moment as well. So we're going to restart, this time with transactions, which went great. Oh, that was the import command. Where did my server go? Sorry about that. Okay, and we're doing transactions right now. And we're just gonna wait for the server to start up. Okay. So we have an item and we know there's something wrong with it. So let's just go to its self, which should exist somewhere. Yeah, this guy. So here's our item. And with the transactions extension, we support all of them. So if I make a request for this item here, one of the things I will get back is an e tag. And so to fix this, this item doesn't appear to have any layers. So we're just going to get rid of the declaration of the layers extension and get rid of the layer IDs field. So to do that, what we can do is we can, well, as you can see, I've already done this once this morning, but we can set null here, and we can set stack extensions to an empty list. Whoops, that's not correct. That's an if match header, not a URL. And we can send this patch, and the item that we get back will now be fixed. There are no more validation errors. There are no more extensions. It's just back to being a normal item. Okay, so that's how that's what we can do with transactions. Similarly to the T-Tyler sidecar application, I don't know if that's the correct description of the deployment, but Franklin can also serve tiles, enabled with the with tiles command. So once that starts up, see a few more endpoints. Okay, so because we have transactions and tiles, we have the post and patch endpoints. Post, put, patch, delete, all the transactions you could ever desire. And we also have some tiles endpoints that that return JSON about tiles that are available. And I'll show what those look like. So we previously just looked at the like the JSON of the item, but here we're going to have a link to some new JSON for tiles. And what the tile URLs tell us is how to actually view imagery for any item that has a cloud optimized geotiff asset. Items can also have more than one cloud optimized geotiff asset. So we just accept which asset you want to look at as a query parameter. For us, for now, we're only using the Web Mercator quad matrix set. So that's standard TMS. And I can show you what that actually looks like. This is a NAPE image from Nebraska. And I stole this URL with things filled in a moment ago. And if we scroll into North Platte, which is somewhere in Nebraska, I swear, we will, in a moment, unless I pasted the URL wrong, which is always possible. Yeah, that's, Yeah, there we go. So here we are in North Platte, Nebraska. We have some imagery. Also, similarly to what you saw in T-Tyler, we can set different bands. So if we set red band to 1, and green band to 1, and band to 2, I have zero idea what it's going to look like. But I will hide this one, and yeah, it made it slightly uglier, which is really what you want when you're demoing color correction potential. So we also have tile serving capabilities directly from Franklin. The goals of Franklin are primarily to enable like easy startup. So I'm avoiding the technical implementation because to get running with Franklin, you only need Docker and to run a few bash commands. But if you want to do programmatic interaction, you can also do that with PySTAC. The last thing that I'm going to show for Franklin interaction is a just a little script, which is called post items PyStack.py. Let's get some syntax highlighting. Here we go. It's much better. So here I'm manually constructing a sort of goofy item. It has a very small bounding box from 0, 0 to 1, 1. It exists right now, and it doesn't have any assets or links or anything. It's pretty worthless as far as items go, but it does exist. And with the Franklin server running, we can, this is our example item. So remember that. So we can add that to our collection. And then when we look at our collection, we should see, well, we should have seen, I think maybe the link didn't update, which is unfortunate. Well, that item, possibly the issue is that I have the URL wrong. I'm not sure. Anyway, you saw with patch before that we do have transactions, and I'm not certain exactly what I've done incorrectly here, but something clearly. Anyway, those are the basics of Franklin. You can serve tiles, you can validate items on the fly, and update them with transactions. There are several features that I haven't shown here because they're a little bit more difficult to demo. Franklin has some other tile serving capabilities. For instance, it can give you an MVT layer of all of the footprints of items in a collection. Similarly, when you import, Phil mentioned the label extension before. Label items have assets, which are frequently GeoJSON. If you import an item with a GeoJSON asset, we will create a new collection of items from all the features in that GeoJSON asset, and you can get an MVT layer of that as well. You can also, we also support some collections transactions that aren't formally part of the spec, but that we thought were kind of important for being able to like if you don't have a collection in your API already, you need to be able to create one. But yeah, that's what Franklin's for. You can get started with Franklin at azavea.github.io/Franklin /doc/introduction. Lots of slashes, so I'll throw that in the chat. And I will stop there for any questions. I'm also going to stop sharing so that I can see if see what my own face looks like. Right. Thanks, Chris. I forgot to mention the Gitter channel. We've used that for support a decent amount. It's been pretty helpful. It's a little higher bandwidth and higher frequency than GitHub issues. Okay, with that, I think probably if there are other questions for Jeff or Vincent or Phil, if they're sticking around, now would also be a fine time. Sorry to put everybody on the spot on the fly, but if not, we can just end this session a bit early. And relatedly, I don't know how to end this session a bit early, so I guess end probably ends it for everyone. Seems fine. Okay, well, thanks everyone for your time, and enjoy the rest of the sprint.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.